Yeah, I've just watched another couple of videos from a young man, that has schizophrenia as well, and it's still up in the air, whether it's schizoaffective or schizophrenia. So he reported, but he told me, or he shared, he didn't tell me directly. That what he experiences in psychosis, and I've never been able to articulate that to a professional. I've had little epiphanies along the way, but generally, whenever I present myself to a professional, I'm always trying to cast the impression, that I've got this under control now. And, I think it's a symptom of my PTSD actually, where I have to be in control of, my environment and things around me, and especially my wits. I won't go into any detail. This is primarily about schizoaffective. But, what I related to with him was, what I experienced, when I'm psychotic. And that is, I become delusional. I start to feel as though I am onto it, so to speak. When I was in the depths of my psychosis, I thought people were signaling me. I was running around trying to make sense of a game that I was playing in my own mind, where I was reading into number plates and they'd have a significant meaning. And then, I'd listen to a song on my iPod and I tried to match them together. I had an obsession about winning the lottery, and I thought, that these people that worked within intelligence agencies, had the power to manipulate the lottery for a win on my behalf. But I think that's more, the addict within me. So when I first started to experience psychosis, I was working 5 days a week shearing sheep and spending 20 hours of a weekend as I was spending 20 hours of a weekend working in a project, where you built one another people's houses. And I thought that I was onto it, so to speak. That I was winning in the game of life. I was also obsessed about computers, the internet, and hacking. And there were people messing with my computer. I don't know how many times I got a virus and then had to reinstall all my programs, because people were trying to construct or, I think that's the mindset of a hacker, is to get you to delete a program and then to reinstall it, and then to with whatever you reinstall, it has a piece of their code in it. So it's a little bit like a game for them. They're building something, in which, they can study you, or analyze the data that you use but that's, all grandiose and notionalistic, you know. Um, I get angry sometimes looking back at that time of my life, because what it triggered in me was very epic and grand. I ended up thinking that, it was an international fucking conspiracy, and that 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 there was a project overseen by the military, where people were being cloned as embryos and then fostered out to different families. They were studying the nature of identical twins, and because I thought I had a twin brother that I'd never met, and that's what the voices in my head were about, about trying to link together. And I do some, real mental gymnastics, when I begin to tell myself stories along, with those kinds of themes. I argued when I was initially diagnosed that it was the post-traumatic stress disorder, and the complex post-traumatic stress disorder that was, the root cause of my symptoms. I went on medication and off medication again. I ended up on an involuntary treatment order, and I guess what frustrates me today is that in my own mind, I get clarity, so to speak, in regards to all these issues. But, when it comes to articulating them to another person, that's where I end up revealing the fact that, a lot of my thinking is impaired. And, I'm okay with that today, but, I'll write a novel. I think this is the manic, or what they call expansive mood or expansive thinking. I get these epic ideas about how I'm going to, I wouldn't say save, but, do something noble and heroic. Like starting up an NGO here in Cambodia where, it's sponsored by the West, where people here with mental health issues who can't afford medication, can come to this NGO or come to my organisation and be able to sponsor them for their medication each month. And the thing about it is when I start to, get grandiose ideas like that, my mood swings, and it's like, I become munificent, so to speak, which is just great generosity. Benevolent is generous, and munificent is great generosity. And it's compelling. It's not like I've acted on any of those ideas, but there is part of me that is in denial about the fact that I can be very selfish and self-centered, especially in regards to how I still indulge in caffeine, sugar, and nicotine. And I'm slowly coming to learn that it's like a little kid who has a hit of red cordial, and then becomes then his ideas become sensational and brilliant, I think that they're going to be followed by millions, and even, starting this channel, I expected to have 1,000 subscribers, by the end of the first week. And reality is, all I do, I think, and what I fear is that I just reveal to people how damaged and broken I actually am. People who are very articulate and astute, especially after a couple of years in regards to their mental health issues, the insight and the insight and awareness and the terminology that they can use. I still struggle with all that. I don't know what the professionals would say about this, but for the most part, I can function and operate in a civil and diplomatic way with others, and be a decent human being. It's only when I try and impose my will upon complex issues that I come undone. Perhaps it's just another ramble. I've gone off on tangents. Reality is I don't remember a great deal of content about my psychosis now. I used to try and force myself to remember. I've got to remember what it was like. I've got to, and I think that's another thing that people don't mention that often, in regards to, what I hoped the payoff would be, in regards to having the lottery manipulated for a win on my behalf. It was very selfish and self-centered. When I am, I think the term is self-adulation, where you start to put excessive emphasis on your own beliefs and opinions and your own self-importance. When I start to circulate and that kind of self-reverie, that's when I become delusional and psychotic. For the most part, it's always been in the grand and epic, the expansive ideas, that are going to revolutionize life in the world. Basically I try and overcompensate for the fact that, being selfish and self-centered, I thought that was bad, and if anyone ever found that out, then they'd think poorly of me. So a lot of these tangents that I go on, when I'm expansive, in an expansive mood, are the polar opposite to that. They contradict the true nature of most human beings, which is that they're selfish, self-centered, self-obsessed individuals. So I'd like to think that I'm maturing today as a schizophrenic and a human being, and I'm just going to delete this video, because I've had 2 or 3 cans of Coke this morning. I haven't had anything to eat, and getting towards the end of my fucking post, and I start to get a little bit honest, instead of being concerned, about or comparing myself with someone, that, hasn't been as gravely affected mentally as what I have. Yeah, so I'm good. All is good. I'm a damaged unit. So perhaps somebody might be able to identify with this, but I'm going to persevere with it and see if I can grow some more. Ciao.